year, the biennium, they have asked for $350,000 to set up what they're referring to as a best practices group. The interesting thing is this would be a group chaired by the executive director of the TDLR, Mr. Bill Coombs, and it would survey all the health professional agencies, the HPC agencies, as well as other state agencies, with a view toward creating sort of a database, a group, a foundation, whatever you want to call it, of best practices and how to do things and so on and so forth. All I will tell you is that many of my fellow executive directors perceive this as perhaps the nose of the camel under the edge of the tent toward creating one super licensing agency. You may or may not be aware of this, but TDLR currently has 21 different statutory agencies under its purview and regulates approximately 500,000 licensees in the state of Texas. Air conditioning people, boilers, elevators, tough man fight contest, barbers, cosmetologists, and a host of others. If there is an attempt made to bring under that purview professional licensing agencies like this board, like the dental board, like the medical board, I suspect it will be met with great opposition. I cannot imagine that the veterinarians of this state and the doctors of this state and the pharmacists of this state and the nurses of this state want to be lumped in together and regulated by TDLR. So all I can say is just to alert you to that. That's kind of a big, interesting topic for us. I will continue to work and talk to TVMA, and we'll watch in the session as this develops. That's all we know about it right now, and that's really all I can report. But we are concerned. So you might have, if you have any questions for me on that, you can, see me now or catch me later. It's not coming up on 12 o'clock. All right, let's just keep going. All right, Ina, let's go to B and C, because these are really yours. These are tab 22 and tab 23, and I had asked Ina to kind of touch on those results. So if you would, please, very quickly, Ina.
Yes, sir. As you can see, members, we have made available renewal online for a number of years, but only in the last 3 years has it actually gained steam, thanks to our proactive practices. And this year we've had a slight increase. We actually had 85.41% renew online. Of course, the Texas Online Commission would like to see all of our licensees to renew online, but there's always a group that is unable or unwilling to do so. So we do make paper renewals available upon written request, and as you can see, most have complied. I do believe that new graduates and new licensees who have basically grown up with computers and renewing other licenses online, that this will increase, and I do hope for larger participation.
Thank you. And by the way, obviously, anytime y'all have any questions, just sing out. I'd now like to ask Keith, our Chief Financial Officer, to briefly address the operating budget. Keith?
I'd like to address the status of the FY08 operating budget for the board. As of 8/31/08, the board's operating budget had roughly 3.9% of its budget remaining. Most of the funds that are remaining in the agency are in its capital budget. And particularly it's with two contracts that we currently have. One for putting our carpet down that we still haven't been billed for, and we are currently doing a database licensing application that programming, and we still haven't received all the bills on it. I expect most of those things to be cleared out probably by January at latest. The total revenue collected during the fiscal year of 2008 was a little over $2.2 million, which was a record for us this last year. In the status of FY09, we've just started, basically our new budget is in September, and there's roughly 93% still remaining within that budget. And as of 9/30, we had not collected any revenue at that point. That concludes my general report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
That's for the 08 and 09?
Yes, sir.
What I'd like to do now is kind of go, I guess, into the board performance report. And I need to sort of apologize because I've tried to acknowledge different folks coming in, and the one person I haven't mentioned is Pete Hartline. Pete was sick yesterday. I didn't know if he'd make it in today, but he called and said that he was sick, very sick.
Lord help me. I'm going to tie a string on my finger. That's part of wearing these hearing aids, because it sounds to me like I'm just screaming at you, but I apologize. Pete was sick on Monday and called in this morning, and he's still very sick. And I would also mention to you, just in the general category, we've had a lot of things around the office, just different illnesses and conditions. Ina, for example, had a nerve pinch and was running to the chiropractor, and we didn't know what was going to happen. On a serious note, Pete's wife is also in the hospital. I would share with you very briefly. She went in once with serious pleurisy. They managed to get that under control. She was having a lot of breathing problems. They discharged her on about 7 different prescription medications, and she had a bad reaction to some combination of them, and they put her back in the hospital. And to my knowledge, and if anybody knows different, correct me, I think she's still in the hospital. So it's kind of tight. So for that reason, and that's why I digress, I'm going to do kind of the enforcement report, which you will see behind tab 25. In fiscal year 08, we did an extraordinary, the highest number of investigations we've ever done. I believe it was 469. Can I borrow, Paul, your sheet right there? Because I gave my sheet to the reporter who was here doing an interview. As you can see, yeah, in fiscal year 08, we did 69 complaints received, carried forward 172. We had in-house 641 active for the year. I'm not going to read each of these numbers. You can do that certainly better than I can. But you can see we've got an increasing workload that we're doing as hard as we can with a great investigative staff. And for about half of the fiscal year, we only had 3 people because we had a personnel action and the 4th investigator was separated from the agency in April. Another thing I'd like to flag to your attention, just as you compare the previous 2 fiscal years, under other major activities, now, hold on. I want to also mention the average resolution time remains at 150 days. This is a performance measure for us, and we are, even with a reduced staff of only 3 investigators and an increased number of complaints received, we still have resolved those on an average of 150 days. And I want to thank you, members who review those complaints, particularly the standard of care ones, and get them back to us in a timely fashion, because that helps us schedule them for the informal settlement conferences and deal with those. Now, as to the other major activities, if you'll look, we did 79 informal settlement conferences. That's where you board members came in and we actually faced the veterinarian and invited the complainant in as well. In fiscal year 07, you can see we only did 33. Fiscal year 06 was 51. So we're more than double in the past fiscal year, and we're ramping up. And I think, without trying to pat anybody particularly on the back except the staff, we are changing the face of this agency in terms of what we do. Now, I know that there are folks who don't think we do anything or don't think we do anything very well, but I assure you we are turning a corner, and you can see the 79 informal settlement conferences. We did 105 staff conferences. And this is where Nicole, myself, Pete, and the investigator meet and handle those lesser violations, typically continuing education, TPS certificates, or various other kinds of violations. We've got 96 complaints docketed. This means there's